Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Yes, and welcome to another edition of Money Matters right here on 1FM. And this program is brought to you by the Bank of Nevis. And this is where we normally would have a discussion on how to save money any chance you could get. And our financial coach is here to guide us. Good morning, Mr. Francis.
Good morning, Sharon.
Morning. Yes, another Wednesday morning. You are up next with all the information that we need for today.
On saving monies.
Yes, indeedy. And we alluded to the fact that we were going to be talking about how to save money on home improvement.
Yes, that's right. Home improvements we do today.
All right. So all those persons out there thinking, well, I might have some to do. Well, here's your opportunity to, cut a little here, cut a little there, and you'll definitely benefit in the long run.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So we're going to start things off. So, okay, home improvement. And that would cover both inside the home and outside the home. Yeah. So are we going to be saving money on the painting and redecorating, or are we talking about adding on a whole room to your home, your already existing home?
Okay. Yeah, anything and everything. We want to save money on any kind of works done in the house. And whether this is internal or external, as you say, whether it's a big project, a small project, done by a contractor or do it yourself, any of these. And it could include repairs, renovation, remodeling, maintenance, even replacements of certain fixtures, fittings, upgrades, expansion. Yeah, let's talk about all of these.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure because, I need to save money like everywhere. So I just wanted to make sure if it was that or that. So it covers everything. Okay, cool. So our viewers and listeners, because we are on social media as well, you're not just hearing me on the radio. You can check us out on Facebook and on our YouTube page. Go there, over there, Win Media SKN. Thank you very much. So our viewers and listeners might be renting, or they might be homeowners, or they might be landlords. So how can they save in each scenario?
Right. That's a good way to start. To put it in different perspectives. So if you are renting, so you rent the residence that you, your family live in, one key thing to start with is that you should not make home improvement or repairs yourself. In fact, fixing and repairing rented houses can cause you to lose your deposit, your security deposit. And even if you had a landlord's permission to do some repairs or to do a little renovation or so on the house, and you could do something as simple as use a contractor that the landlord didn't approve, you could get in trouble for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, if the house you're renting needs repairs, the first thing to do is to contact the landlord. And sometimes it's not the landlord, sometimes it's a person taking care of the property for the landlord. So what you want to do is to contact that person, explain the situation, explain the problem. And if it is something that is required and it's covered in your lease, then, it's okay. It will be paid for by the landlord. If it is something where the living condition is totally unacceptable, then again, the property owner, I would say in this case, must fix it.
Yes.
At no cost to you too.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but even in situations where you have to repair the property that you're living in and you are renting, and that might be for whatever good reason, it's very important to get the landlord's approval as to the works that will be done, and make sure they're done according to what the landlord had already approved. Because what you want to do is to make sure that those repairs that you are authorized to make are then covered by the landlord and not by yourself. But you don't want to fall into that trap of doing something the man didn't tell you to do, or doing it in a way that you were not told to do, or taking some measure that that he wouldn't agree with. Because remember, it is his property. You are renting and you want your comfort. So if you need repairs, you would do that. Now, there are some rare cases where a landlord will give a tenant the permission to go ahead and make some improvements, and they will say, You do this, yes, you could do this what you want to do, because, for example, I might want to make a living space larger rather than have a partition in between. I might want to remove that. If it's removable, I could remove it, or I might want to separate, so I want to build up one. And the landlord might say, okay, that improvement you want, that's no problem. That wouldn't damage the house as a whole, but put it up, and when you're leaving, take it out, leave the property as you got it. In that case, you will have to consider whether those improvement works or repair works or comfort for you works is worth it, because you consider the cost of building it up in the first place. And depending on how long you would live there, it would make more or less sense, because you have to consider the cost of taking it down when you are leaving that property as well. So that's if you are a tenant, yeah?
Yes.
And if you are a landlord, now, one of the things with landlords is that I'm a landlord, and so the rent is actually helping me to pay for maintenance and repairs, even mortgage, if I have a mortgage on the property that I'm renting out. And for a landlord, it's very important to ensure that the works that you will do can indeed be covered by the rent in the long term, because you don't plan, as a landlord, you can't really do some improvement now and then expect to raise the rent immediately thereafter to an amount that covers your expenses. Although they say we have some phantom kind of, landlords that try to do that, but that's not what, as a landlord, you want to do. You want to do improvements. When you calculate it over the long term, you will get the rental income covering it. If you have an opportunity to raise the rent, because you have not raised the rent in the last 8 years, 10 years or so, then you can raise the rent. But the other thing you have to consider as a landlord for savings on your end is that when you do the improvements, you increase the value of the property. When you increase the value of the property, you may or may not be able to increase the rent. So that's something you have to analyze. As well as when the value of the property is increased, then the tax on the property increases.
Yeah.
You have to add that in too, to see whether or not in the long run you are not going to have be in a worse off scenario than before you made the improvement. So I would say, you as a landlord, you want to be careful with that. Another way landlords save money is ensuring that in your lease you have two things. Very clearly, that in the event that the repairs become something you need to do and they are the result of the mistake or whatever, of the sabotage or anything like that, of the tenant, that the tenant will be charged for it. You go ahead and pay it, but the tenant will be charged for it. And also in your lease, you have a little cap. Say anything that is $500 and below will be taken care of by the tenant. So you don't have to be called when a light bulb need to be changed. You see, you don't have to be called when the knob on a faucet has to be changed and so on. These are just small matters, and so you want to make sure that is also covered, so that you are not called for small petty matters. And in that way, the tenant is actually paying his way through living in the house. But if you own your own home, then all the charges fall to you.
Yep.
Yes, all the repairs fall to you. And here is where, the importance of always making sure that you find ways to save and have a good money attitude on the home repairs and the home improvement that you do on your own home. Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing this repair. The cost of materials and stuff now and labor is going up. How can people save there?
Yes, that's a thing, cost of material, cost of equipment, labor keep going up. It's part of what they call inflation. Every year, the thing you did last year, you have to pay.
It's more expensive.
You have to pay a little more for it. Yeah. But in this case, I would say time is money. Time is money for you if you own your own home and you're talking home improvements and repairs. Unless the thing is an emergency, always plan ahead in good time. I would say at least perhaps 6 months before starting your home improvement works. Because in that way, and using that timeliness and the preparation and the planning, you can make the best decisions about every aspect of home repair work, especially the money part of it. What works you're going to be doing, what material you're going to be using, what you're going to do for yourself, and what you need a contractor to do. And which contractor you would use as well.
Yeah.
And the order in which you will do the work, because you can have time to plan. I will do this first, I will do that second, because whilst you're doing works in repairs and improvements and so on, you sort of have to move things around, and so you could plan how you do that, and so all this will result in reasonable spending, very calm spending, and you'll be able to get a bigger bang for your money because you know what you're telling it to do when you're going to be telling it to do it. And if you don't do that, you're doing rush jobs, and money that is not wasted in rush jobs is money saved. Rush jobs, the rush works, they always tend to cost a lot more in the end. Something always over costing more, something you always had to get because you get it at this price because you had no time to shop around and so. So for example, we say now we're in the month of May, right? We're in May.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the time to start deciding on what will be done for Christmas, for end of year. The family, you expect them to come in, to fly in. You want to fix up that room there and so on. This is the time to start planning what you're going to be doing and also to start saving the money towards those works for December. You see? And I would say the works themselves don't have to begin now, but at least the saving and the planning, what will be done, finding whichever tradesman would be do it better and so on. All that could start now. And the works themselves could start somewhere between September, October, depending on how long, how big a repair or a home improvement you're going to be doing. So that they'll be finished by the first week in December. So that during that time, you're not going and look for material. That time, all the tradesmen and them now have plenty jobs. So, it's more expensive for you to get them. And you have to get them in inconvenient times and all that. Yeah? So that's what I would say as an example.
I would
December
actually
this year, you walk up to now.
I would actually say so 6 months I think is a good time frame to start planning ahead. But in terms of actually starting the work, even if it's for December, kind of wait until you're out of the hurricane season because it's right around the corner and you don't know what's gonna happen.
But
So
that's another good point.
that's
Yes.
around that time. So you kind of wait until like maybe toward the end of the hurricane
Yes.
season, and then you could go forward after that. That way you'll be out of the woods.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I mean, and in addition to that, if anything happens during the hurricane period, you also, would not have spent off all your savings towards that or your money towards that, towards the home repairs. Beforehand, that something happened that you need to really now spend as a need, spend on to repair. So yeah, you're quite correct. I agree with that.
See, I could put in a little here and there.
So yes. So
Yeah, a little here and there.
you call that know your season. So you not only you're supposed to know your money and know your money in the seasons as well.
Exactly. But like you were saying, so plan ahead for about 6 months. You plan ahead and start thinking about everything until you're ready to actually do what it is that you need to do. So whether you want to do that kitchen renovation or you just want to paint over a couple of rooms, the living room, the bedroom, that kind of thing. So plan ahead. And you said that this will definitely help with the savings because you know exactly how much you're going to spend.
Yes, and you could, even though you don't know exactly, you could project a little better,
Mm-hmm.
and you could ensure that you don't waste. In other words, you have a lot of things that you could do if you plan ahead as well. You could actually find the way in which you will buy the material might even be different. So you could, rather than be paying for trucking or so, you could arrange, you have enough time to have somebody assist you in moving the material. You have enough time to ask the store to deliver the material, so you have enough time to look for deals and all, inclusive on the material that you would use for your repairs, because you're more certain what you're doing and, you're not really in a rush to do it. So, you could take your time.
Okay. So for some people, they choose to go the do-it-yourself route, and they promise their wife. I'm gonna say it's men mostly. They promise their wife they're gonna get things done, and then they go and they do it themselves. And you're like, you know what? I think you made the problem worse than it was before. So is it better to do it yourself? Of course, once you know what you're doing, or is it better to get a professional?
Right. I like how you put it, the fella always botched the job.
It's always the men. It's always the men. Always. I've yet to hear of a female saying, "I'll do it myself," and then no. So it's always the men. Sorry.
Yeah, but what about the female who insists that a man do it yourself rather than pay somebody to do it?
Well, that's another
You
story
also have that.
altogether. That's true. I mean, there's that. But does she really want him to try, knowing full well he not sure what he doing? I don't think so. That's more money coming out your pocket anyway.
True. But I mean, do it yourself is one of the easiest way to save money in the area of home repair and home improvements, right? So there are some things you could do for yourself. I mean, like painting. Painting, for example, is a skill, but at the same time, is not as technical a skill as, say, laying down tiles, right? Or maybe some carpentry finishing on on the cabinets or the closets or so. So you can try the painting one, do it yourself, but you may not want to try the do-it-yourself on the electrical works because you know nothing about that. You don't want to kill,
Kill yourself and accidentally. No, it's okay. Nope.
Yeah. I mean, I can hear some people say you can kill yourself. You don't want to kill the children. So, but do it yourself is really a good way to save. And these days, you have many more ways in which you can prepare yourself. Again, if you plan ahead to do it yourself. If you bought, for example, some fixture that you want to put in, you have not only the manual, but you have all the YouTubes and the tutorials on the internet, on the website of the vendors and so on, the manufacturers. Where you go and you take your time, you can spend a whole month learning what you have to do beforehand. And even technical things, some technical things you could find also so that would be now investing in yourself, you educate yourself, and by doing so, you save money. Because here it is, you would not be paying a contractor to do something that you can do yourself. So the loan you now take for the home improvement will now not be spent entirely on labor, but will be spent, say, on material. Maybe instead of spending $600 on a contractor, you spend $30 on a course, and you spend 4 to 8 hours to learn, and then you begin to practice. You make a first mistake, so you might spoil $10 of material, but at least it's cheaper overall. So yes, do it yourself, I would say, is one of the ways to save, and it is good to do it yourself. One of the things that do it yourself project does in a home, especially if it's a family home or a home with kids as well, it's an opportunity to do teaching, to do training, and for families to do bonding as well, because you do it yourself, you save money, and you actually appreciate the results. Quality lifestyle is really achieved in that as well. So I would go with you, yes, do it yourself is one of the ways of saving money, but you save money, dollar money, as well as you save in time, you save in lifestyle, you save in the environment at home, everything as well.
Okay, so that's if you're doing it yourself. No, I know some people are grumbling already because of like contractors, and they go off on a little tangent, but because they've had some bad experiences. But is there a way to save when using a contractor?
Right. So contractors, one of the things that catches us a lot is that sometimes we go and we don't distinguish between the general contractor and the specialist contractor. So if a person is a general contractor, that's a person who takes care of your entire project. That person will take care of your material. They will actually take care of the labor. They will put everything together. They'll coordinate the time and make sure. So that would be like your project manager if it was a big, big job. Some of us will take a project manager also for a small job. And one way to save is to know which you should be using, a general contractor or a specialist contractor. Sometimes it's good to use a general contractor because that person, you need equipment and tools and so on. And a specialist contractor may not have all the tools, may not have all the wherewithal to put things together. They might also have to call in another person to help with in certain things. So you want to take a general contractor if it's a huge job. But if it is not a huge job, you want to consider a specialist tradesman or contractor. So if all the work you do is about plumbing alone, if all that you're going to be doing is about the air condition or something like that, the electrical works or so, I just want to rerun the wires or something like that. So you take that. If all you're doing is just landscaping and perhaps just fixing a staircase or steps on the outside and so on, a flight of stairs on the outside or something, then, you could choose. You don't need a whole big time contractor for that. And that saves money because of course the big contractor is paying staff, is paying himself with a margin and things like that. So that's one way you could save. Be your own project manager on small projects. Take care of your timeline, pay your tradesman yourself. If the tradesman or the contractor allows it, buy your material yourself. Another way you could save if you're dealing with contractors is to don't take the first one who you meet. Shop around, as we put it. Yes, yeah. Yes. So and in the big world, in the big companies, they call that receive bids. So you do a little bidding and you let people bid for your project. Well, in your home improvements is a similar thing you do. Jim Brown down the road does this kind of work. So you ask Jim Brown, how much you think go charge? Jim Brown say, well, I have to see it first. You'll let him come and see it. Then you actually work close to somebody who does it, or you have a co-worker who tells you about somebody who does it. You find out and you get people, and then you hear 3 or 4 of them. And you may find that in that conversation, you will also get additional savings because these contractors may be giving you ideas as to which material is better to use, which one will be cheaper, and so on. So that's another way to save. Don't take the first contractor. Now, people always say, but what about family contractors and so on? You know, one of the things is that people generally expect their family member who's a tradesman to charge them less. But
I
why? He's a
mean,
tradesman.
that's the thinking for real.
Yeah, but what you really want is that he gives you the best advice, he gives you the best price, and if he can't, then you choose somebody else because you're trying to spend less money on the same project, not more money because that man just lived down the road or this one is your cousin. If you could afford, then okay. But if you want to save, one of the ways of saving is to shop around to see, right? So you get like a price quotes and so on for the labor. But what about the material? You could save on material as well. Because once you decide on the contract, you want to get the best price for that job. You want to make sure you even don't take the best price that contractor give you. You find out and you negotiate. A lot of people don't like to negotiate. People feel ashamed to negotiate. I don't want to haggle for price.
Not when it comes to those big things, as far
You
as I'm concerned.
yes,
Yeah.
you want to negotiate as well so that you can compare the price you will get from one person to the price you'll get from another person. Now, if you have the opportunity, another way to save on home improvement is to consider purchasing your materials for yourself. Because when you do this, you are able to shop around for the material, whereas a contractor or tradesman may have other jobs that may not have the time to shop around for you. The other thing that you can do is that when the stores have discount, especially if you plan ahead, if they have discount, they have sales, they have whatever, you could actually benefit from that because a sale that happens in June may not happen again in October. But you catch it in June because you're preparing for the work and you know the work. So you check on that. About discounts that you get on material, though, you have to be careful about that because most contractors, because they buy a lot and they do a lot of jobs, they tend to get discounts from the stores. Mm-hmm. The stores give them discount as tradespeople, as contractors. So you have to speak with your contractor because some contractors would even have a problem with you getting the material because they want to make sure their finished job is well done. So they get the material they want and make sure they get the quantities they want and so. But if you're going to get it for yourself and if they allow you, make sure that you speak with them, get the details, make sure that you don't buy the wrong material, see, and that you buy the material that they tell you and the quantities that they tell you and you get the discounts. But if it is a case where the discount you will get buying it for yourself is less than the discount that a contractor will get because they are a contractor. So again, it depends on what kind of material. Like for example, I don't know, contractors who are a person who's a tile, who lays tiles. That person might have an arrangement where he buys tiles, he buys say grout or the cement at a very cheap rate from the supplier, and you may never be able to get that as a retail purchaser. So you want to speak with your contractor, and that's a way to save. Always be in communication, just like you're in communication with your lender for your loan. You have to be in communication with your tradesman or your contractor for your building. So I would say those are some of the ways in which you can save money on when you're working with contractors. And some contractors will be very happy that you speaking with them and coordinating with them because a happier customer is indeed what the contractor wants, so that you could refer other homeowners to them for similar jobs.
All right, so buying your own materials. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Is it good money management to take out a loan to pay for the home improvements? Or, I mean, I know we're promoting savings, but sometimes you may not always meet your target. So is taking out a loan if you realize I have a shortfall and I'm not going to have as much as I would need to do what I need to do, is it better to actually go and take a loan for that?
Right. Yes. So you say better. Again, it depends on your situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It depends on your situation. So when you say better, I think you mean, is it better to finance your home repairs with loans or cash, with your own cash?
Yeah.
Yeah. It would always be better to use your own money because then you don't have to pay any interest on that money. Yeah, that would always be better. But there are situations in which it is really good to use a loan. Remember what the loans, the credit unions, the banks, and so on are there for, is to help us finance the things we need to finance when we are unable to do so from our regular savings, from our savings or our target savings. So if I need to have that repair done, or if I would like to have that repair done for December, and I get to October when I should start, or November if I want to start, and I don't have enough money, there is a nice interest rate on home repairs or home improvement loan for Christmas in the bank. And it is of a nice term and so on. And as long as I am not too indebted by this time, and as long as I have my stable income and I know I will be able to find the additional, say, $200 or $300 a month to pay for this home improvement loan for the next 2 years or however long I take it, then there is an advantage in taking the loan. The advantage is that you do not have a long waiting time before you begin to enjoy the home improvement or the repair. You follow?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the big advantage. And if you got a good interest rate, one that is affordable for you, and if your income, your salary can indeed match it, because that is the thing, Sharon, you have to have in your budget the needs, the wants, and then the amount of money dedicated to preparing you to build up wealth, your savings. So your needs are covered, your wants are covered. Maybe you squeeze it down to 20% because now you want to take a loan in order to live a nicer lifestyle, to spend a better Christmas, and to have an additional room for when the family come in, or to repair that room that you were not using, but they're coming in for Christmas and you want to have a nice time, for New Year's, for Carnival. So you want to have a good time. Or, your son is coming back home from college. He starts right back at home. So you want to spruce things up a little bit. You don't have to wait a long time if you're taking a home loan. The most important thing about taking a home loan is it is giving you the chance to start and to do it right now. Make sure you get an interest rate that is feasible, that is really practical for you, and that you could indeed pay back over time, and that you are not putting yourself in, I would call it, in debt in a way that you will not be able to manage in the next 2 or 3 years. So that's what you want to think about. In that case, it's okay to take a loan. And if it is important that you do that repairs now, so if it's ranking on your priority list that you improve the property, then you want to take a loan for it. A similar thing happens on the landlord. If you are a landlord and as you have rental income coming in, so rather than keep your tenant dissatisfied and in a living condition that is not tenable, not acceptable, you take a loan and you repair the place. Your repayment is going to come from the proceeds of the rent. Hopefully you have a margin in there and you can pay for it. So in those varied scenarios, I would say it's okay to take a loan, but just remember that when we take the loan, it is a debt. We have to repay it, and we have to repay it at the interest rate that we've been given on time. So that's what I would say, Sharon, for that.
All right. And that final question actually brings us to the end of the program. Thank you again so much, Mr. Francis, for enlightening us. I'm sure our listeners and viewers have learned some more tips, and it's all due to you.
and I'm sure they have tips themselves. They can send their own tips into us and also share it. And if any questions, also pose a question so that we can address them in an upcoming program. Sure. I can see one note here saying to break down the project. If you have a project, break it down into smaller parts, and that helps to save because you can do one part which is manageable at a time. And that's also a very good tip.
That's a really good tip as well, yeah.
That's a very good tip. It's right in there.
We are collaborating.
Yes, so much.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Any hints as to what we're doing next week?
We were asked to look at home appliances, and I think we can do that. Major appliances. Can you save if you need to be by spending on refrigerators and stoves and
washing machines and stuff like that?
Major appliances. How to save on major appliances.
All right. So if you want to learn how to do that, how you can make some savings on those purchases, then you have to tune in next week right here at 1FM at 10:15 a.m.
Yep, yes. So thank you very much, Sharon, and thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. Thank you so very much for being with us. And we hope, we hope, and we are always working towards you gathering more and more to be able to handle your money right for savings and for growing your wealth.
Have a good one, Mr. Francis.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There you had another edition of Money Matters right here on 1FM. And it's brought to you by the Bank of Nevis.
Have you heard? Owning your very own special piece of St. Kitts and Nevis has never been easier. The Bank of Nevis Limited is currently offering 100% financing with up to 15 years to repay at a competitive low interest rate. Additionally, a Visa credit card to make your day-to-day shopping needs easier. Contact us by phone or call into any one of our branches today. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Bond strong. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Offer ends on June